Yesterday what we did crude oil ship, passenger ships and all. Correct? Any doubts from yesterday's lecture? Anyone with doubts? No?
No, sir.
Sure. Of course, I don't think it's really that challenging for your intelligence anyway. Okay. So let's move on. The petroleum product tankers, because what happens is refinery is a big business. It's a huge thing. It is not something you have got, even though that statement is no longer true today. Today we have got micro refineries also. They process the oil in 24 hours. Micro refineries they got limited capacities, but means they have managed to miniaturize that. Anyway, what happened was, so we had say refinery in Mumbai. So you will produce like diesel oil, petrol oil, kerosene, etc., etc. And then you need to supply to other places where they don't have refineries. Now there are two methods. One is road tankers, other one is by ships. So the product carriers were born. They carry all types of petroleum products. Now there is something like light oils and heavy oils and all. There are enough of petroleum products. Okay, I can't name all of them. Naphtha is one of them. Now what happens is you need a different product, so you make a ship. Now the problem comes. I have got a ship, say something like this size, small size. Okay, it says like this size. Now the problem is if I go to say Mangalore, they want 5,000 tons of say petrol, 2,000 tons of kerosene, 1,000 tons of diesel and something something. So that means I need to have variety in my design. So what they do, they create more tanks. More tanks, there are more pipelines so that they don't contaminate with each other. And you have got more flexibility to load. That means what happens, Mangalore wants something, okay, you give to Mangalore and then you are stopping in Goa. So Goa wants something, okay, you have got capacity for that also. This is how the things run. So they have got enough tanks. Now the tanks can vary depending on, again, they are designed for specific trades. 12 to 30. Normally this is what I know. But some tanks may have heating coils because, like for example, if you're carrying paraffin, the wax, it can become solid. So you need to keep it at certain temperature. How do you keep it? You have got heating coils in the tank which circulate steam so that the temperature is maintained. So this is how these ships are designed. There are a lot of pipelines on deck because to maintain cleanliness of oils. Now today product carrier sizes have also gone bigger. No longer the small size. You have got product carriers which carry 80,000 tons also today. But again, remember one thing. Always remember, ship is what as per requirement. There is nothing like a general size and you take that. Yes, of course, if I am close by, I will prefer a general one because it will be cheaper. Otherwise, I order very specific one because it goes to specific ports. Their requirements are such. So this is how it is worked. Now, what is Captain Dogo is saying? Product carrier cargo is refined petroleum products. Now, what are special features for it? Cargo pump room that is expected with lots of pumps. Inert gas system. Now, see, crude oil like VLCCs and all have got crude oil washing system and inert gas system. But every tanker has got inert gas system anyway. You cannot allow oxygen to enter there and create explosive atmosphere. So you always fill up the tanks with inert gas. Then there is a midship crane to connect pipelines. All the tankers have got midship cranes to connect pipelines. Mast risers for ventilation of tank. That is, on the mast there is a mast in the middle somewhere, and it has got a pipe running along with it at higher height from where any vapors have to be released. That means away from possibility of any sparks. So release them on top. That is mast riser. Segregated ballast tank. Segregated means isolated ballast tanks where you oil and water should never mix. So that is segregated ballast tank. Hydrocarbon gas monitoring for all tanks and void spaces. Means hydrocarbon monitoring is what you continuously take samples via pipelines and monitor it. What is the hydrocarbon content in it? So if you take it from cargo tank, you are getting it at 100%. Uh, this one 100% hydrocarbon, but you're monitoring tanks as well as, unless the tank is empty, in that case you're monitoring more carefully when the tank is empty. Void spaces, the ship has got some void spaces where there is always a possibility something can leak and go there, then without me realizing I got an explosive situation in hand. So that is why all the places surrounding cargo tanks, wherever any leak can go through the bulkheads, means the partition, through the partition, if it is going to leak there, we monitor all of them just to be on safe side. So we know it. In case there is a leak, yes, there is a dangerous situation. What do? We fill it up with inert gas first before we start doing anything else, so that we make sure that it will never become explosive atmosphere. Okay. Cargo control room, like every tanker has got cargo control room. Now there is a difference. The cargo control room, and you will hear this term, cargo office. Cargo office is basically different. You may have things there. You will arrange the like ballast systems and all, but the loading discharging is taking place with say shore cranes like container ships. Here, cargo control room has got higher importance because it is also controlling loading discharging of the ship. So it is more sophisticated than what you will find on a typical container ship or a ro-ro ship. Slop tanks for cargo residue. Slop is where you collect the leftover cargo which was not pumped out and keep it. Means it is something like dirty oil place. So separate tanks are there where you keep the previous cargo residue, and depending on the situation, you either pump it out separately or you pump it out for disposal. You can't pump it in the sea. Cargo tanks, 4 to 12 tanks, port center starboard. That means it can be like 12 to 36 tanks. Ballast tanks are normally wing tanks because all tankers are double hull. Okay, wing tanks, double bottom tanks, for peak tank, after peak tank. Cargo gear, there are a lot of cargo pumps for discharging. Mast is foremast and radar mast. Capacity, even though I have written 2000 tons to 30,000 tons, today I have heard up to 80,000 tons product carriers. According to the lengths will vary. Then hull is always double hull. Draft again, like say the length, breadth, and draft. When we talk about it, remember one thing, it is designed for a specific port. Some ports have got only 8 meters draft, and you have to go there. That means you'll make sure that your ship doesn't cross 8 meters draft. So this is how it works. So any doubts in this product carriers? Any doubt? It means, this is what I learned yesterday somewhere. If you don't have doubt, means you understand what I am talking. Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Now, I picked up this one from that, some of you had suggested, see that money heist. So in that, this dialogue is there. You understood? Yes, sir. No doubts. That means, okay, you understood what I said in first time. Okay, multiple products. True.
I just want to take nail cutter.
Sorry. Okay. Now we move to gas carriers. What are gas carriers basically? You have got like a oil field. You get the crude oil out. Along with that, there is also natural gas. So natural gas is what we use at home and all, for cooking. Now, if you think about gas carriage, it is something like how will you carry gas? You'll need a massive, massive amount of volume. So what is done is that gas is liquefied. Means you pressurize it till becomes a liquid. Like every uh, gas can be pressurized till it becomes liquid, and the temperature of this one goes to minus 273 degrees Celsius, correct? I don't know, I remember this from chemistry and all I had studied. So anyway, they liquefy natural gas and petroleum gases also, because whatever product you are handling, it will have gases. So there are two types. One is LNG, natural gas, and liquefied petroleum gas is it's another type of gas. These ships, what happens is, now when you carry these gases, obviously, if I put in normal container, it will burst because I put it as a liquid. But the liquefied gas temperature is minus 150 degrees Celsius, and outside temperature 30 degrees. So it will start boiling immediately, and it will create pressure and it will burst. So the tanks have to be prepared, a strong tank. So how they are designed? The first, the tanks are prepared. Now generally what happens, you will always notice the shape of any tank, pressure tank, is either spherical or cylindrical. Cylindrical with the spherical ends. You will notice it everywhere we have got like that, except the cooking gas at home. But cooking gas at home also has got cylindrical shape and rounded on top. This is the natural design according to physics, okay, with the pressures. So they first make the tanks, then install tanks in cargo areas of the ship. Now they got a plain surface inside, because if they have to clean it anytime, it becomes much easier. It has to be done quickly. Mostly these tanks are made up of some sort of a stainless steel type of materials, some alloys which can withstand the pressure. And additionally, what happens is there are different types of ships for it. I have liquefied is okay, but I am carrying it. So each tank has got its own dimension, and a combination of tanks gives you the ship. So you find different designs. Like some ships, you can see the tanks like domes on top of the deck. Some ships they are under. The newer designs they are under. So from outside you can't make out really. Now you have got one is fully pressurized. That means you don't really worry. Fully pressurized, it remains liquid. When you start discharging, it actually gets discharged by its own pressure. Then some of them are semi pressurized and refrigerated. Means you have the tank which carries liquid, but it is also kept cool, and there is a certain amount of pressure. Other one is fully refrigerated. Fully refrigerated means there will be very little pressure left. You keep things now, one minus 150 degrees Celsius is not always possible, but you have got different types of ships, and this is highly specialized uh, department in, you can say, cargo carriage of gases. Now LNG they carry liquefied natural gas, the way it is taken out of the oil well. These types of tankers need careful, delicate handling owing to the precariousness of material they carry. Means in simple words, it can be hazardous for variety of reasons. One thing, it can catch fire, it can create, if it leaks out, it can create a big bomb, because if it explodes, It will absorb all the oxygen around you, and then it's like those are the actual weapons in the war. Okay, they call cubs. They those ones like uh, gas air mixture can be lethal next to only nuclear weapons. So they look something like this, either this way, or they may just have a higher freeboard and completely flat. These are older designs. Again, there is, see, the crane is here to connect the pipelines, and then there are different types of discharging systems. Some of them just use the pressure from the cargo, so they don't have the pumps. They just use the pressure and discharge it. Other ones have pumps also. So both types you get. What happens now once college starts? We keep on getting our old students coming back, sometimes. So if somebody is from these ships and all, I will get him to talk to you all. Okay, LNG ships, what they have got special for compressors for re-liquefaction. Now, one of the thing is what? How do you keep it cool? One is you allow evaporation, so cargo gets cool because it loses the latent heat. Now that gas is compressed again, liquefied again, and put it back in the cargo. Some ships were designed earlier to use that gas to run main engines. There were ships designed like that also. Refrigeration system is large to keep cargo cool. Cargo tanks should hold pressurized liquefied, and they also have inert gas available when they have to go after you finish discharging and you're going to change the cargo. So they need to clean that time. First they use the inert gas and then they gas free it. 4 to 6 tanks depends normally, but it is more economical to have the bigger tanks. Ballast tanks are standard double bottom tanks, 4 peak, after peak tanks, wing tanks. Cargo the pumps are there. Then this is a more specialized one. They are measured in cubic meters capacity. Okay, they are not measured in dead weight. They are measured in cubic meter capacity. So length can be 100 meters, 200 meters. Again, dimensions will change 20, 25 meters, 7 to 11 meters normally. Gas is relatively light. Hull is a double hull. Now, LPG tankers are very similar. LPG is different cargo. That is like propane, butane, mixtures. Then there are more ones like they carry ammonia and all sorts of things are carried, okay, in liquefied form. So, what happens to them is they look more like this. You see, there is normally higher freeboard and all. You'll find some units here which are normally like here also you got see refrigeration systems and standard stuff here pipeline connections that is called manifold pipeline connections are there, crane will be there to connect it, you go and connect. Now the tanks are hidden under the deck. Both the ships you will notice tanks are hidden under the deck, and tanks normally they are cylindrical because that is something to do with physics, the best way to maintain the pressures and all and without rupturing the tank. What is it now? LPG ship, similar compressor from reliquefaction, refrigeration system, cargo tanks to hold pressurized liquefied gases, inert gas system. Practically same. There are only technical differences, which you will learn at the right stage, not to get you confused today. But there are some technical differences which are not really for us at this stage. Now, any doubts on this? These are mast risers. Okay, see this mast, no? These are mast risers. Here also you have got say mast risers. That is where the whatever you want to release to atmosphere, it goes up and gets released on higher level. so that nobody gets affected. Any doubts?
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ बोल.
Sir, does LNG ships work on LNG or diesel?
Right now, you see, there is a lot of stuff going on right now which you all will be inheriting. The normally ships, when we say diesel engine is operated on diesel, or like there is something called heavy fuel oil. Okay, that is much thicker, but it has got advantages. So what it's done is, when you use diesel in ports or something, you pollute less, but it is more expensive. Whereas when you use the heavy fuel oil, it is black colored thick oil which has to be heated first. Then we use it same one in engine, which will create little more you can say pollution. But main thing is it is much cheaper. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
Any other doubt? Now you know what they are doing. The first CMS AGM container ship. I think they are using
Yes, sir. They are using LNG right now. I
LNG
heard a
right now,
news.
the new ones, which is just
Yes, sir.
started. They just did refueling 2 3 days ago. I just read it somewhere on net.
Yes,
So
sir. That's why I asked because there was one container ship that was the first container ship which is working on LNG.
see, what happens is over a period, changes will come. You may see totally electric battery powered ship is also there. Huh? The first autonomous ship which is operating in Norway right now, it is run coastal. So that one has got batteries. So it is like, they come alongside when the cargo work is going on, they are plugged into electricity, they charge batteries, and it operates on batteries. So when we find more and more things which we have found and we need to convert it into say commercial ventures. See, scientists find lots of things every day. That is the knowledge. But to convert it from there, you need to think commercially. So you may find a solution in the beginning, commercial solution. Yes, I can make it to run like this, everything fine. Then also comes engineering issues. You see, a prototype I make doesn't mean it is going to work exactly same way. So then the engineers get involved. They develop it further. They remove all the problems which may arise when it is actually working in long term basis. So right now, probably technologies are already identified but not converted yet, because whole world is talking right now of no carbon deposits, etc., etc. Okay, I don't believe so much of bullshit going on, but main thing is your oil is also towards end now. Another 10 15 years probably we may not see much of oil, and that is why everybody is converting quickly to electric, like electric cars, everything. So you will bring down the consumption, so you can stretch the oil longer period, something like that. Okay, should we move on? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Okay. Gas carriers carry gases in liquefied form only at sub-zero temperature. Okay, yes, I put yes. True. Good. Okay, now miscellaneous liquid carriers. We have got one Captain Lakdawala. You will come across him anyway. He used to command this orange juice carrier between Brazil and Canada. So these are different types of liquefied carriers. Okay, these are like chemical gases like ammonia and others. So we are talking right now gases. So ammonia is carried, ammonia tankers. Liquefied ammonia is carried. Now what happens? Liquefied ammonia is not inflammable. At the same time, it is hazardous. So it is not called a tanker. It is called gas carrier or a liquefied gas carrier or whatever liquid carrier. See, these are all specialized designs of the ships. We can't make out really, when you see from a distance, you can't really make out what is that ship unless you meet somebody from the ship or you check it out on Google it. General liquid carriers are like orange juice, edible oil, wine, water, chemicals. Now, water is also a cargo. Huh? Now, depends on the type of ship and all. Water was carried to Arab countries from Japan because they used to buy oil, so they used to clean the tanks and then they used to load it with water, and again loaded water used to go to Gulf countries once upon a time till they use other technologies to produce water on their own. But just remember, anything can be carried depending on requirements. Now, basic design is like similar because liquids are liquids. Only thing what happens is they get special concessions on the safety requirements, so that it varies a bit. But basically, things are more or less same when you think about a construction. But the tanks are made up of inert material like food grade stainless steel. Now, food grade stainless steel is different than normal stainless steel. Just keep it in mind. There are two food grade stainless steel grades in India. One is cheaper one where, if you are living in an area like Kutch or something where there is a salt, you will find your stainless steel getting corroded. That is the lower grade. Then there is another grade which is higher grade. So we have got two grades, I know. But tanks are made up of like, because you don't want orange juice, edible oil, wine, water, anything to get contaminated. Chemicals you have to watch out because they react with the material. Then this orange juice carrier, they got temperature control of the cargo, because when you carry it, you need to maintain at specific temperature. Otherwise, there will be fermentation, and other end guys will get drunk drinking orange juice. So they just maintain it at the, now I have just put it as just above 0 degrees. They maintain it in liquid, but because they can't heat the cargo, interestingly, they can't heat. Cargo will get damaged. So they have to maintain at exact temperature which are given to them by a laboratory who has carried out the sample testing of a particular grade of oranges. And they are on fixed route normally, they don't carry any other cargo. So normally it is Brazil to rest of the part of the world. Brazil produces very large amount of oranges. And they will be looking very clean because foodstuff is there, so it has to be clean. Either naam bhi hai Orange Star, Orange Oceans. See? Normally the same company. They will have pumps and all, but whole thing is made up of like stainless steel of food rating. Okay, food grade. Edible oil is also carried, and edible oil tankers means edible oil liquid carriers. They carry like palm oil, coconut oil, or any other oils, whichever way. They're more like product carriers, and they got also some arrangement to keep temperature, maintain the temperature of the cargo at normal room temperatures, because if you go to cold places, oil will start freezing. So there is some heating arrangement. Normally 2,000 to 60,000 tons, no fixed routes. I remember once we ran into one Iranian ship which was a edible oil carrier, and the capacity was about 40,000 tons. And normally those days the sample size was small, so they were going port to port collecting oil, to take it to Iran. India also imports, by the way, edible oil. Wine carriers are generally small types of ships, and again they have to maintain exact temperature of cargo, where wines get damaged by heating or cooling, both ways. Remember always, red wine is always at room temperature, white wine is chilled. But even though in India our temperatures are high, so when we say room temperature, it's about 15 to 20 degrees. Water carrier. These are the small tankers which carry water. These are for general use around. But you also have got some bigger ships which carry water as cargo, but they are not specially designed as water carriers. Like for example, if I have a ship like this available, okay, I can load now after I clean up orange juice. I can wash everything and load water in that and discharge. Chemical carriers again they will be looking like a product tankers depending on what sort of chemicals are carried. Normally what happens chemicals have got smaller quantity, but recently I have heard the cargo quantities have gone like 50,000 tons and all, like ammonia and all of 50,000 tons capacities. So it depends on what sort of. Normally the chemical carriers are like fixed business for some companies. Like Stolt is one of them. They do take cadets from here also, but the Stolt tankers are known to carry only chemicals. Now, okay, a lot of business has shifted over to tank containers. Means the cargo is carried in the tanks on a container ship. You know, it's a tank has got dimensions, and you use that. Now, beer carriers I have not heard. Okay, because I think they do it in factory only. But alcohols and all, like whiskey, rum, vodka, and all, also get carried in tank containers. And that is because each tank container has got capacity of 18,000 to 20,000 liters. And it is carried because I have got experience with it. Okay, any doubts on this? Hmm? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Sure, everybody is clear about what types of ships they are? Huh? I can't hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is written there, is it clear enough for you to understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So we move on to the next one. 18 parts of this lesson. Practically all liquids can be carried on liquid carriers. It's true. Now we are coming to specialized ships. In specialized ships, you remember what I have told you. Ship is what? A box where we think about only cargo, nothing else. We design that box first, whatever we want for purpose, and then we connect the bow and the engine and stern part. So, what box we create has got a purpose. Now, here the purpose changes. They are not carriers exactly. The specialized ships are not carriers of. They are made for a specific work. Like for example, on the road, right? Everything has got wheels on the road. If you stand there, you will see. You see buses which are designed to carry passengers. They move A to B. You have got like cars, taxis. Everything is moving. You have got trucks which are moving. Now you also have got some more things which are moving, like what? Road rollers, the construction machinery, right? A tractor which is also on wheels. A tractor is not carrying cargo. A road roller is not carrying any cargo. They are made for specific purpose. Similarly, you have got ships which are made for specific purpose. They are not interested. They are more interested in their what area we say cargo area. That area they use it to fix up their machinery and other things for to do the specialist job. Now what happens here? You have got different types. One is like supply vessels. Supply vessels do a lot of multiple purpose jobs in offshore oil and gas platforms. What happens? Offshore oil field has got both the things, oil and gas platforms. They are drilling, they are pumping out, they are doing all sorts of activities there, which is a specialization. So to they will be needing things, sometimes spare parts, sometimes this that which are kept ashore. Everything can't be kept in this. Now again, oil field is a protected area. Your ships can't go in. Ships are too big. So what they do, they have got these supply boats with a powerful engine, and you will realize there is a small place here aft, which is here you see the cut is also given so that you can roll over things, and one crane. Two, then here what they carry food stuff, they may carry some spare parts, they may carry something else like that only, just to help oil platform industry to run their day-to-day affairs. Now helicopters are also used for this. Okay, so supply vessels and helicopters both are available to offshore oil fields. Now they can operate well in rough seas also, and very rough seas they are generally not used because they can hit the oil platforms and they can damage. So very rough seas they are not used, but it is a different type of job. And you see here on top the glass is there because they are expected to look up to the platforms. Okay, drilling vessel. Ship is designed for drilling. They have got lots of propellers, so that their position is maintained. When they stand there at one spot, their accuracy will be probably 1 centimeter in position. So they are on that place, they maintain themselves, and the drilling starts. So this is the drill. It will be drilling under sea, and they will be drilling maybe 100 meters, 200 meters. To my knowledge, the deepest drilling is something about 400, 500 meters. So they are advanced dynamic positioning systems. Dynamic positioning system means not only differential GPS, but there are more advanced systems are also available to them. Plus, there are many systems they use, not one. Icebreaker, generally you'll find Russian ones, an odd one maybe Canadian or something, but not much because everybody has given up on that. They realize that you can use the aircraft to supply. Why do you need to take the big ships there? You do it in summertime, and in winter time when there is ice, you don't need to break ice and carry the cargo on the ships. So there are videos available on YouTube. And icebreakers, Russians have got even nuclear powered ones because the North Polar route is practically Russian. So they have got ships to operate on that. And they get a lot of ports which are icebound. So over a period there is a lot of change, but still icebreakers are there. They are basically made stronger in front because what they do is they keep on changing ballast and break the ice with their own weight. Plus, some of them have got even arrangements in the front with something like a wheel to break ice. Okay, tugs. This is the most common one you are going to see everywhere. They have got very powerful engine. It's as much as like ship's engine capacities, but very small underwater volume, and they can uh, rotate on vertical axis by 360 degrees. Okay, then you will be what you do is normally you tie up the tug, and tug will be helping you to go athwart ship to go alongside, because athwart ship you have got only bow thruster with a limited power, and you have got the fore and aft engine with a little angle available on stern because of rudder. So you always use tugs. You can go alongside without using tugs. That is how we get our training. You should be able to handle it in that way. But it will take much longer time. Now it is waste of time. So commercially, it is not feasible anymore to you maneuver only and go alongside. Theoretically possible, practically possible, but commercially not feasible. you waste too much of time. So what happens is you get these tugs. Tugs are small ones which can rotate easily on 360 degrees. So it is very easy for them to push pull in any direction. Generally, they push you. Generally, because pulling has got certain limitations. It takes time. What happens if I'm pulling on, say, left, and it becomes too strong? I need to control it. So I tell him, no, no, slow down, slow down, slow down. How can he slow down? He is just pulling. So he has to go on other side. He may need 3 minutes. Till 3 minutes, I am helpless. So generally, tugboats generally they tie, push you, and when you tell them stop, stop, they just pull you other. They tie up you, like with the line, and then they pull you back. So that is why generally most of them are pushed. Now some tugboats have got firefight. Most of the tugboats actually have got firefighting systems. So they are part-time firefighters in the ports. Part-time. They have got gun on top. Normally, when required, they assist in fighting fire on ships. And then there are other types of ocean-going tugs which are meant for towing. You come across them. They are generally designed only for towing from distance to distance. Like from Singapore, you want to get something to Mumbai. Yes, a tug will be employed. Tug will take its own time, maybe 6 knots, 7 knot speed, 8 knot speed, and tow the thing to Mumbai. So those are the different tugboats. But tugboats basically don't carry any cargo. They have got powerful engines, strongly built. They assist the bigger ships. Pilot boat is just a normal boat, but designed to with a good maneuvering capacity to transport maritime pilot between land and ship, because pilot has to come on ship. So what happens, he boards a small boat. Now these boats, you have seen sort of boats which good maneuvering capacity. It has small radar, everything is there, pilot boats. Then why these things are there? Because this is where the pilot will be standing. He is protected here when he is going to board, because it is a difficult maneuver to hold the boat there and roading, pitching and all. So that is why these rails are there. Lots of rails you will see. That is to hold on. Otherwise, guy can fall in water. Research vessels. Research vessels are one of those ones you will find helipad always on research vessel. They are designed to sail. Now see what happens is, like, pilot boat designed to go to sea at good speed, so that is different. Tugboats are not designed for going long distances, except the tugboats which are doing the job at sea, pulling, like I told you, Singapore to Mumbai or something like that. So their hull is designed in different way. Here the hull is designed for pulling, pushing, to maneuver. Icebreaker hull is designed for another different thing, that they have to use the weight to break the ice. Then, like drilling vessel, hull is not designed for continuous sailing. It is designed only to maintain at one location where the drill ship will do, and we don't mind we lose some extra fuel going A to B. These ones also design, hull is designed, this offshore one, for good maneuvers, not for long term sailing. So here research vessel is designed as a combination. Now this is designed to travel and then hold on position in different places where the scientists are working. There are some research vessel. India also has got some. Now there is a, when they start doing research, there is a lot of work going on. Because so many scientists. If somebody wants to drop something in water and somebody wants to pick it up, somebody wants a particular location and so on. Now, so their combination of, like, some icebreaker type of hull, normal one, because they don't do job of breaking ice, but they may be working in ice. Because like South Pole, research vessels take scientists and all there, then they land them ashore. That is why you have got helipad. So The helicopter will land here, scientists will go ashore to their base stations, etc. etc. So they carry supplies also, spare parts also, whatever it is. And scientists or the technical people who may have to go there, because these are the ones which operate in, like this is operating in ice. So they are prepared for it. Cable laying ships, they move at very slow speed. They lay the cables. So they have got also abnormal looking shape normally. They are not designed to sail country. They generally travel at the speed of maybe 1 knot per hour, 2 knots per hour, something like that. But they lay the cables. You see, all your internet, everything is still connected not only by satellites but also by undersea cables. Earlier days, undersea cables were there, and that is how actually USA was connected to Europe. That is where the wireless telegraphy started. Not wireless, the telegraphy started. So the tick 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 करके होता है ना telegraph. So they came in this thing and they got connected. For that, underwater cable was laid long, long ago. We are talking much before I was born. Much, much before. Where I think probably even my father was maybe not born or no, I'm not sure. So this is how the this connectivity now. Okay, that's correct. I was right. First layer is 1857, 1858. Okay, so just imagine how those guys must have worked those days. Those days, the steel ships were new relatively. Idea was new. Engines were there, and the amount of cable you have to lay, and navigation aids were absolutely pathetic. But still, it was done. Today, you have cable laying ships. They are doing the job. You don't generally come across them. If anybody is working somewhere now, they issue warnings that I am working in this position, I am going from here to here, and please keep clear, because they can't do any alterations or something. For them, any alteration or they go off the position means extra cable. Okay, firefighting vessel means those are the specialist tugs. Not many are there, but once upon a time they were there. Today, what has happened, this function has been taken over by the tugboats with extra pump, and then few tugboats can fill up the ship completely. But earlier days, you had specialist one with enough pumps. Idea was to, in case of fire, you fight it. Now, here there are two things, okay? Seawater has got unlimited supply of water, correct? And these tugboats were designed, the Chicago one, because they had a lot of industry on the waterfront. So in case there is a fire on waterfront in any industry, they could also use the tugboats to bring water, means to put the water on the fire. Okay. So they were designed for that purpose because a lot of industry was on the waterfront. Today, I told you, general normal tugboats do the same job. Now this is interesting ship. Semi-submersible ship means what happens is, now the question is, how did this submarine land on top? Anybody, any guesswork?
The ship went below sea level a
Huh?
little, and then it rised above, and the submarine was on top.
Correct. What they do is they sink this ship first to this level. Okay, something like about this level. Okay, so you will see only this part and you will see only the funnel when ship is sunk by ballast, by filling up seawater and sinking down. Then the submarine is moved on top of it, positioned it, then they start pumping out water and then they resurface. Okay, these are semi submersible ships. Submersible also you can call, semi they call, but you can call, because it's possible to have totally submersible ship technically. It's like create another, so we call it semi because some part is always above water level. Actually, I have seen one working when they loaded the cargo. So I was lucky. Otherwise, you generally don't see them. Barges means they are dumb, just the boxes created which float. They are used basically in rivers and they are towed. Like this tugboat is going to tow this barge. Now they are used for cargo to bring cargo from inland to the port. Now we are also looking waterways. Like there, India is working on inland waterways from Varanasi to Calcutta, and all some of the projects are there. So over the years, you are going to see this. That maybe now see what happens here. This one is pushing. This is typical American style. It's pushing. See so many barges, 3, 6, 9, 12 barges. They are tied with each other, and one is pushing throughout. Here it is pulling. Now what happens is the idea here is I bring the barges, I leave it, you do loading in your own time. When you are ready, you call me. I will come. Means engine is separated. But you also have barges with small engines and all, and they are called self-propelled barges. Normally these are called dumb barges. So they need to be pushed or pulled if they have to move somewhere. Then you get the self-propelled barges where there is the engine and then part of this one is attached here straight away. Then you get some specialist barges where there is a special arrangement to connect the pushing vessel. It goes and locks in, so it becomes a single unit. Anchor handling ship. Now these are used in oil fields or for example putting a navigational buoy. So these are specialist ones who don't really sail like distances. They go to the place, they are given anchor chain, they are told what position to drop that anchor, they go drop that, then but divers will connect it to the buoy or anything else. And they since they got limited job, so they can also be used for additional purpose because तुम बोलेंगे अरे यार मेरे को इतना ही काम मिलता है बाकी का पैसे का क्या. So they are designed as a multi-purpose. So they may operate part-time supply vessel, part-time anchor handling vessel. But like supply vessels are not designed to handle anchors, except few which will fit these fittings. Anchor handling fittings, the equipment, can be fixed on anyone. Depending on supply demand situation, because normally what happens, the one company may own about 10 supply vessels, 20 supply vessels and all. So then they may decide अच्छा दो को हम लोग anchor handling में डाल देंगे, so we can do that job also. So this is a multi-purpose use. Pipe laying ships. Now we saw cable laying. Cable is flexible. Pipes are not flexible. Now they also travel at very slow speed. So what happens is the pipes are there. They get welded, then wrapped, and then they are lowered on the bottom. And so what happened? The pipeline is started from this corner underwater. So part of the pipe is on top where there is a continuous chain like one new section is welded, wrapped, lowered. So they may be traveling at less than 1 knot per hour. Now they may be even using anchors like this one is anchored. So when the job is finished, it will keep on pulling on the anchor to the pipeline. You will not see probably unless you are lucky to see in some port something. But this is more of operation of oil stations, means offshore oil platforms. From there is a connectivity by pipes to the mainland. That is where these vessels work. So you if you are around offshore oil field, you may see odd one that they are connecting oil field to the mainland. Dredgers. Dredging is activity. What is it? You remove the muck underwater to make it deeper. Okay. or you are making a canal, you dig it up and all. See, you will always prefer as much as possible on a dry land, but at some stage you have to deal with what is underwater. That is where dredgers come in pictures. Now dredgers also have got lot of variety. Different types of dredgers are there. So far as you know what dredgers do, dredgers dig underwater to make the things deeper. That is the normal one. Now, South Africa had diamonds on the seabed. So they used dredgers for mining also. So what dredger used to do used to dig up, pass it on top. Then they used to filter it out and pick up the diamonds and dump rest of the things back. Then you have got dredgers which are picking up the sand from the bottom to make it deeper, and the sand was also sold because sand was required for construction material. The Rotterdam Europort became one of the deepest ports, not for any other reason but for sand mining. They needed the sand, so they kept on digging. So port became deeper because port had the best sand. So dredgers, that is what they do. Fishing trawlers involved in fishing. Now two types of fishing boats are there. One are trawlers which continue moving and drag the net underwater to catch fish. Like generally, what is prawns and all are picked up like that because they are on seabed. So they drag their nets on seabed and they kept on moving. And when they want to pick it up, they will stop the engine, pull the nets in, and then take out. That is trawler. Another ones are fishing boats which go on a location, throw the net, and pick it up. But they don't keep on moving. They will move only when they're throwing the net around, and then they will do so. They like local ones. Trawler keeps on moving and doing the fishing. Both you will be dealing in ROR. What is a trawler and what is a fishing vessel engaged in fishing? Factory ships. See, it started first as a fish processing vessel because what used to happen, people were doing, like if you look at it, half the world, half the world is more or less, okay, I'm not saying half exactly, but between 45 to 50% is covered in Pacific Ocean alone. Now, fishing is done all over because there is fish there. Now, what happens if you carry the fish out of one fish, probably a 30% goes waste, head and other head, depending on the type of fish. So, it started first, Russians used to do it. So, what they used to do is it was like a flotilla, means mother vessel was a factory vessel, and then there were fishing boats. They used to catch, give it there, then they had inside was something like a factory where fish was cleaned up properly, processed, packed, refrigerated, and all the waste material was thrown back in the sea. So that is called factory. Then this process changed further, and we started getting things in Brazil, in Amazon River, when they were cutting the trees. So the trees were processed, and the vessels were designed. One end was landed ashore to pick up things, and other end they used to have barges coming alongside or small ships coming alongside and loading the cargo and going away. Forest produce. So you can make anything on floating, whatever you want. Like we are saying, floating hotels, that is luxury passenger ships. You can have anything. Like even factory ship, we have got in Hazira. Reliance has got some. A whole ship is actually a factory. It doesn't move. It is fixed at anchorage, but whole thing is a factory. It is not on land. The factory is floating, but they do processing of, I think, natural gas or something, and to get some products. Then normal fishing boat. This is a typical fishing boat. This area is like this because from here they pull up the nets. Okay, and these are big ones. I'm not talking; they are not small ones. So this is where they do processing also, and when they're full, they can go back. Now these ones for long distance fishing, means they go in deep oceans and all to fishing. Not deep ocean is probably wrong word, because if water is too deep, you don't have fish. Basically, fish also is generally in a top layer, and so shallow water, because fish needs food to eat. Now what will they get in deep sea? There is nothing there. What we consider as a dirt is food for fish. So generally in coastal areas, but they can go deeper. Means once they start their voyage, they may be out for maybe 15 days, 20 days, and so on. This is another type of fishing vessel. It has got, they put the nets from two sides, they'll pick it up. There is a boom arrangement to lift it up and take it on back, and then they will pick up the fish. Specialized carriers, basically specialized products or services, whatever they are doing. It is done for specific purpose. Each one is designed. It can be drilling vessel, icebreaker, many more, research boats, tugboats, firefighting duck, supply boat. Mine clearance vessel is also there. Normally, mine clearance vessel are fiberglass one. This is what I know. But this is basically naval operations, so we don't know much about them. Dredger, cable laying ship, pilot vessel. These are the typical examples of specialized ships. Means get this idea clear. You get your box, you do whatever you want with it, but it must float. And then we attach bow and stern and we make a ship. Now, bow design will depend on whether you are going to do long sailing, then you will start worrying about fuel consumption. If it is a short sailing, you don't really worry about fuel consumption. Right? Correct? No? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Specialized ships are not designed for long sailing, but for a very specific commercial purpose. It's true. We are finished, huh? Sorry, I went little bit